All right. Welcome everyone to this author series. Today we are very excited to have Foster and Carlos. Foster is Ira Renard Professor of Entrepreneurship and Information Systems and Director at Fubon Center and Data Analytics at AI at Stern School of Business at NYU. And Carlos is an Assistant Professor of Information Systems at HQ UST in Hong Kong. We're pretty excited to have both of you to this author series. And more importantly, for the IJDS, they are the authors of the first paper in the inaugural edition of IJDS. So it's a very first paper, and it's pretty exciting and pretty interesting paper, especially for PhD students out there who are trying to do computational social science or machine learning for causal inference. It's a very nice first paper to start reading. And the faculty out there who are trying to design your PhD seminars, please include this paper in your seminars. It'll be a good paper for your students to start reading. And they have touched upon a ton of papers and referenced very interesting papers in this area that are coming out as well. So please include this paper in your seminars. All right, welcome Carlos and welcome Foster.
Well, thanks a lot. Great to be here. Thanks for asking us to be.
Yeah. We're pretty excited to have both of you. So I'll start with a few questions about how the paper is and more and get into more about IJDS specifically. So get started. So what are the main managerial and design making decisions that you include in this paper? And please explain to audience who probably have not read the paper and how do you attract your readers to this paper?
Okay, so I think I can take this first question. So I think to me is very interesting, like, well, you mentioned about specifically a decision-making problem, right? And so in this case, I think that the interesting part is that you're distinguishing between doing causal effect estimation and causal decision-making. And what do we mean by that? Essentially is that there's a big difference between trying to predict a quantity and actually using that quantity to make a decision, right? And very often we just forget about that. And we just think that the output of the model itself is the only thing that we should really care about. But in reality, what we care about is how those estimates are going to affect the quality of the decisions that we're making, right? And so this paper digs deep into at least 3 key aspects that we should be considering when we are building these models for causal effect estimation. In particular, it builds on aspects such as, okay, so we have data that may be problematic to estimate what is the effect of A on B. Does that mean that we cannot make decisions about assigning A or not, right? And the answer is, it really depends on the nature of the confounding in the data, right? Then we have this other key aspect, which is, are we optimizing directly for the effects or directly for the decisions? And again, we showed that when we learn models to optimize for decision-making rather than effect estimation, we can do much better. And finally, sometimes, like even without any causal modeling at all, you can still make good intervention decisions. And so we find that standard predictive models actually can work very well as proxies in order to make effective decision-making, right? And so all these distinctions to me are very exciting because basically it implies that you don't need to have like this perfect causal effect estimation model in order to make great decisions, which I'm hoping that is going to be very encouraging for people in the industry and practitioners that are using these models for decision making.
Wonderful.
I wonder if I could jump in here too. So if I could step up a level, and one of the reasons that I personally got into this line of work is, if you're using machine learning models or other kinds of models, statistical models that are built from data to actually make decisions out there in business or in other organizational contexts, right? About more than half the time, what you're trying to do is take a decision that leads to an intervention that you want to have a causal effect, right? If you're doing digital advertising, you don't give the ad just to give the ad. You give the ad because you would like it to actually lead people to buy more. If you're doing retention, right, you want to give a retention incentive, not just to the people who are most likely to leave, but to the people for whom the incentive will get them to stay. If you're doing recommendations, you're not just recommending things for no good reason. You're recommending because you would like to cause people to whatever, buy more. You know, if you're doing content selection, personalized content selection, you're actually trying to affect something like make people use the system more, whatever the system happens to be, right? You know, this is what we do. We do this with machine learning models and other data-driven statistical models all the time now. You know, go out there and take any business that is a sort of a business that's actually doing serious data science. They are making these kind of decisions. And it's really interesting to me that although we evaluate these with like AP tests and stuff like that for their causal effect, we rarely actually drive the decisions with models that are modeling the causal effect, right? And even when we are, it's very rare. I've been doing this. This is not me indicting other people. I've been doing this for 30 years, right? And I haven't even been doing this myself, right? You know, we do not build, we rarely, not do not, I mean, it's not absent, but very rarely do we build models that are actually modeling the effects of our causal decisions, right? And so that's essentially what the paper is about, right? And then Carlos, talked about there are three main implications that we sort of bring out in the paper.